Welcome to 10-Minute Treasurer. My name is Jeff Pospisil, and in this video, we're going to go over what it takes to apply for the student loan forgiveness program that President Biden announced just last month. So August of 2022, it was announced, and that's what I'm going to dive into. But before we do that, this is the very first video that I'm recording from my new office over at Dakota Wesleyan University. And I just made the switch to teaching accounting and finance and really loving it. We have great professors in our department, fantastic students, and I can't encourage you enough that if you are thinking about getting an MBA or maybe you know somebody that's going to go off into the business world and learn about accounting or business, I recommend Dakota Wesleyan. You know, they'll get a great education, but more importantly, we'll try to encourage their faith and build in them some leadership skills as well. All right. So most of you probably saw this headline that the president announced, I think it was August 24th, that $10,000 to $20,000 of student loans would be forgiven per student. And this happened right as college was kicking off. So this is a very, very good introduction for my tax students to be able to look into a tax law and research it and see what they could find. So here's the requirements to see if you're even eligible. So first of all, you have to have student loans. It's kind of hard to receive student loan forgiveness if you don't have student loans. And the student loans, they can't be just brand new as of this fall. So you had to have student loans before June 30th of 2022. So that's the first criteria. And by the way, if you paid off your student loans or you paid them below the amount of forgiveness during the pandemic, you may be eligible also for a refund. So let's just say, for example, you had $5,000 in student loans as of March of 2020, and you decided to just knock them out, you may very well be eligible for a refund. So it's still worth paying attention to. The next thing is they have to be federal student loans. So any loans that are forgiven, it's forgiven by the federal government. So if you have private student loans, those don't count, but you need like a direct loan or a Perkins loan, those are the ones. Any federal loan can be eligible for forgiveness. And the last one is that your adjusted gross income, so that is line 11 of your 1040, it has to be below $125,000 if you are single or married filing separately, or below $250,000 if you're filing jointly. And that is for what the instructions say is either 2020 or 2021. So it sounds like it just has to be under that limit for at least one of those years, and then you may be eligible. And by the way, there's a test too. If you're still a dependent, if you're still a dependent on your parents, then it looks at your parents' income for the student loan forgiveness test. So now the next question is, if you're eligible, how much are you eligible for? And if you received a Pell Grant, even once, you don't have to receive it every year, but even once, then you are eligible for up to $20,000 in student loan forgiveness. So that's a good amount. But even if you never received a Pell Grant, you could still be eligible for up to $10,000. So this is a significant amount of debt that's being forgiven. So now how do you apply? Well, the first thing you have to do is go to studentaid.gov. So that's the same place where you did all your student loan financing things. So where you applied for them, as well as where if you're making payments, how you manage your payments and all that kind of stuff. So you go to studentaid.gov. The bad news is the application is not currently up, but you can sign up for a text reminder. And they will text you as soon as that application is ready. It's supposed to be early October. So hopefully that is ready in a timely way. I will put a link to that in the description, as well as links to any other resources that I use to make this video. And the last thing to keep in mind is it's going to take a while for those payments to actually come through, or that forgiveness to come through. They estimate 4 to 6 weeks. And so if your forgiveness is going to be pretty close to the amount that you owe, or maybe it's even greater than what you owe, there's still this deferral time where you don't have to make payments. We're still under pandemic, I guess, policy technically through the end of the calendar year, so through December 31st. So if you apply by November 15th, you should see that forgiveness come through before the end of the year. So the question that I had right away was, is it taxable? A lot of times when debt is canceled, it is a taxable event. And if it's a $10,000 to $20,000 of forgiveness, that could be a big bill. And that's what I asked my tax class, and they were able to research it and did a good job. And it is not taxable for federal income tax purposes. There are a handful of states where it is taxable, and those include Arkansas, Indiana, Minnesota, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. And their legislature may they may adjust. I'm not totally for sure, but you may see some adjustments before the year end, and they may also make this not taxable. But I would just be mindful of that. If you're in Minnesota, Wisconsin, or any of these other states, just be prepared that you might have a bigger than normal tax bill because of this student loan forgiveness. The last question is it legal? Is it legal? Will we see a challenge before this application even gets up and before the forgiveness starts happening? And there is a real possibility that you have fiscal conservatives with both parties that are concerned about inflation. They're concerned about our debt as a country, and I guess not as student debts, but they're worried about national debt. Anyway, so I'll link to an article I saw from Yahoo that was looking into this, because also even the provision of the law that they're using is the HEROES Act, and that was very targeted, and now this is a lot more broad, and so we'll see. And then the other complicating factor is we seem to have had a lot of latitude towards student loans during the pandemic, but now the pandemic seems to be officially over, is what the president said. So what does that mean? So anyway, there are some unknowns here, and hopefully that application gets out there and they start getting processed. And if it gets going before there's any lawsuits filed, then it has a good chance of just being fine. So, all right. So one last thing before I sign off, I've talked to some pastors and some others that they're wondering, is this even a good thing to do? Is this even a good thing to take advantage of? After all, we took out the loans, we knew what we were doing then, and now is it right to then ask for forgiveness for those? And this is my own 2 cents, is that I don't see anything wrong with it. The federal government, they are the loan holders, and they're forgiving the debt that you owe them. So they're not forcing some other company to forgive debt. They are having their own debt forgiven. And student loan debt is the hardest to get out because you can't even get out of it through bankruptcy. So it is really, really a difficult debt. And so that's one point. But the other thing is, I just know if there's good and godly people, that if you have extra money then because of this, it's going to go to good use. It's going to go to making the world a better place, most likely, instead of going to interest and payments and that kind of thing. So I just want to encourage you to do that. And also, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, share. That just helps these videos get out to more people. And I do appreciate that. All right. God bless you.